to the Packers and the Ravens. Wild game. I would even argue that the Packers-Ravens game and Saints-Bucks game, and we talked about this last week, and I hope I was like, bet Tom Brady at minus 150. Those are good odds. No.
Well, I mean, he hadn't been shut out in what year is this? 2021?
2006.
15 years.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Never been shut out in a home game.
What were you doing in December 2006?
I'm probably doing a podcast with you somehow.
No, we didn't know each other.
Oh, really?
You were in your 20s. I was 33. Holy crap.
No, we were working together before.
No, 2007. 2006 when Fan.
Yeah, but I wasn't 30 until
you didn't join Fan
2011.
Breech, what were you doing?
You and I were working together
in 2007.
At Fan House before I got married. I got married before I was 30.
Yeah, 2007.
Right, so I knew you in my 20s is what I'm saying.
Right.
No, I was in the phase of my life where I lived in a 3-bedroom apartment with a good friend and my brother, and we went out drinking 4 days a week.
Yeah.
That was that phase.
So Tom Brady has now moved from minus 150 and minus 180 in some spots down to minus 110. Aaron Rodgers has climbed up to plus 225. And then Patrick Mahomes 10-1, Jonathan Taylor 15-1, Matthew Stafford 18-1. I do think that I'm not sure how this will play out because we have multiple games on Monday and multiple games on Tuesday. And sometimes when you have those games, it reduces the macro chatter out there. But I do think there's going to be a strong push for Jonathan Taylor this week on the heels of the Colts making this playoff push, beating the Patriots, doing it with no Carson Wentz, basically. All Jonathan Taylor has that big run at the end. But if I were betting one of these 5 guys right here today, I'm betting Aaron Rodgers at plus money. And Wilson was saying to take him last week, I think.
Yeah, I never was getting the Tom Brady love. Not because he's played poorly, but Aaron Rodgers, Kyler Murray were for me, and my other two. Cooper Kupp was on my last ballot because of Breech, and then TJ Watt and Jonathan Taylor had also been on the ballots at various points in my top 5 we do every week now that Jared Dubin, our buddy, posts on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, I believe.
Yeah, and the Packers have the second easiest schedule, so you have to feel good about betting Aaron Rodgers. And I do feel like, getting shut out.
It's tough to get. I'm surprised that Tom Brady's not plus money.
But, then a Tom Brady fan will say, well, Aaron Rodgers lost 38-3 to the same Saints team. So why does it matter when it happened?
It does. Of course it matters when it happens.
It does. Is why.
That's like saying, right. It's like saying the Saints won week 1, but they lost the Super Bowl. Why does it matter? Well, because that's the last game of the season.
That's not a regular season game versus a regular season game. That's not the same argument.
Look, I understand what you're saying, but we're talking about awards here. The stretch run matters for these things. We've seen them flip like crazy down the stretch. The Heisman's a great example, MVP as well.
Every single thing you vote on at the end of the year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
that's the dumbest question Breech has ever asked. Breech asked a lot of dumb questions.
If you deal with humans voting on stuff, recency bias is a factor.
Yeah, obviously, but if you're down to 2 people and you're looking for a tiebreaker, that's what what's my deciding factor? Because I can't decide between Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. The deciding factor is going to be which team finishes number 1 in the NFC. And if the answer is the Packers, then Rodgers is going to win. I mean, I think Rodgers is going to win. I agree with Wilson.
I still think plus 225 is not a terrible bet.
Not at all. He won it last year too. What's the issue with back-to-backs, Breech?
Voter fatigue.
That's really my line, but I'll let you have it.
Is that your
line? The one thing about Rodgers is now there is one more thing about Rodgers too.
Your thing could be the revenge factor, Brinson. The Rodgers
revenge is my thing. I was going to say Vax factor may be an issue because
Baxter.
I mean, one of my friends brought that up. They're like, is Rodgers not going to win because of the Vax factor? I was like, I don't think that'll matter.
Just like it might have rubbed some people the wrong way, and because they won't vote for him.
Fortunately, Redacted is an MVP voter, so don't have to worry about that. I think if it had happened in week 16, like the news came out about Aaron Rodgers, not the way that whole thing unfolded came out in week 16, then maybe it's a bigger deal. But I don't think it was. I don't think it's a problem for any of the voters now.
Also, they don't care because Omicron appears to be milder. Everyone's getting it.
Yeah, I'm just saying that
and the NFL and FLP have changed all the rules. Yeah. Well, I'm just putting a bow on
it. Rodgers he's playing with a hurt toe. He's perceived to have a lesser cast.
He says.
Right. He's been Roethlisberger with the injuries. He's fine.
Maybe. Yeah, he's running pretty well for a guy.
He's the only person I've ever seen with a hurt toe who gets better every week.
Right. He's faster with 9 toes. Okay,
yeah,
sure.
It's like my annual week 12 back injury where I'm like, oh, I got to go upstairs for a couple hours, watch Succession. If I were voting on this today, I would vote Rodgers. Mahomes would be intriguing at 10-1, but I don't know how you get there.
No, yeah. He has to throw 10 touchdowns the next 3 weeks. Yeah. Each week, not total.
You know what's crazy is if you had told somebody 9 months ago that neither Dak Prescott nor Joe Burrow would win the comeback player of the year and it would be Nick Bosa who won it, I think people would be surprised by that.
Is he going to win it?
He's the favorite right now. Anyway, the Packers beat the Ravens by 1 point because John Harbaugh went for 2 at the end of that game.
Again. So just to quickly sort of reset this, last 3 weeks, the Ravens' last time they touched the ball was when Justin Tucker had an onside kick. They went 1 for 3 on the onside kicks. 2 out of the 3 times they went for 2 when the game they were down 1, and Justin Tucker, Hall of Fame kicker, could have tied the game and sent it to overtime. And they're 0 for 2 on these 2-point conversions, at the end of games that cost them victories. That instead of making them 10-4, makes them 8-6 outside of the playoffs looking in, as we've discussed. And Harbaugh said at the end of the Packers game, in which the Packers defense looked like they couldn't see the Ravens players. He said it wasn't analytics, it was gut instinct. And the big issue on the analytics Twitterverse is that earlier in the game, and Breech, you might have the specifics because you usually keep up with these things, that when they cut the lead to 8, they didn't go for 2. They just kicked the extra point.
When it was 31-17, if you're going to follow the analytics, you're supposed to go for 2 once you score a touchdown to cut it 31-23. So that way, if you miss it, because if you're going to play for a tie with 2 extra points, which is what most coaches do, you make it 31-24, then 31-31, then play for a tie that gives you a better chance of winning. So if it's 31-23 and you get the 2, it's 31-25, and now you can kick the extra point in the next one, and you're up 32-31. Versus if you miss it, then you're supposed to hit 2-pointers 50% of the time. So the odds say you should hit the second one, even though they're independent events. But
so the only conceivable excuse for not doing it that I could think of for Harbaugh was that he knew in advance he was going to go for 2 if they scored again, and he believed that he wanted to try and win, go for 2 to win. I'm just saying, I think he made a mistake.
Okay.
I think he made a mistake and told himself, all right, I'm going to kick now so we're within 7. And then if we do score again, we can go for 2 and a chance to win the game. Now, that ignores the fact that you would have left 42 seconds on the clock for Aaron Rodgers to go set up a field goal.
Go ahead.
That's the only excuse. I tried to word it on Twitter. I couldn't do it. That was the only excuse I could come up with for why Harbaugh might have done that. But yes, if you were planning to go for 2 to win the game, then you should 100% go for 2 on the previous touchdown, especially when the analytics say to do it anyway, because then, as Breech points out, you could score a touchdown with 42 seconds left and kick a Justin Tucker extra point to go up 1 point. Like, if that's your plan, go earlier. It's wild that he didn't do that.
I disagreed with both times he did it in the Steelers game 2 weeks ago and tonight against the Packers. But at least in the Pittsburgh game, he was out of cornerbacks, and he said, I just don't want to mess with it because the Steelers play well in the second half for some reason because they don't listen to the offensive coordinator at that point. But against the Packers, and John Harbaugh didn't use his excuse, but I was wondering if he would say, well, I didn't want to put Aaron Rodgers back out there. You mentioned the 42 seconds. But here's the thing. Put Tyler Huntley back out there if you win the coin toss, because that Packers defense looked terrible. And then, again, like I said 2 weeks ago, you get into the 35, 40-yard line, and then you let Justin Tucker finish it.
Well, there you go, Wilson. The Packers defense looked terrible. And this is why, obviously, if he was going to go for 2, he should have done it the first time. So
right,
I believe that, but I also understand his gut instinct to go for the 2-point conversion there. I didn't hate it because you just said the Packers defense looked gassed. That's what John Harbaugh's saying. He's saying that my offense just put up 125 yards in the final 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. They are running up and down the field. The Packers can't stop us. So why not go for the win here? Because if you kick the extra point, there's a chance your offense doesn't get back on the field the rest of the game. As Brinson mentioned, there's still 42 seconds left. If it goes to overtime, maybe you lose the coin toss. So this might have been your last chance to have your offense out there and to have them put you in the lead. That was the only guaranteed play you were going to get for the rest of this game, whether it went to overtime or not. And so because of that, and because they were going up and down the field the final 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, I didn't mind that Harbaugh went for 2, even though he should have gone for 2 the first time. But that, like these are 2, I can disagree with that, but also agree with the fact that that would have been my gut instinct.
I think he got it in his mind. If we get a chance to tie this game up, I'm going for 2 for the win. And that's why he kicked on the previous one, because otherwise I feel very confident he goes for 2 because he's so analytics heavy. You know what I'm saying? That's the only excuse I could possibly come up with.
Whether they kick the 1 or go for the 2 and get it, Aaron Rodgers still has 42 seconds. So no matter which one he did, they could have still lost the game in regulation.
The other argument, and this is, I hate to use the word, but the phrase, but game theory is that,
oh boy.
If you go for 2 and you get it, and Aaron Rodgers is down 1, you incentivize him to try and go with 42 seconds to go win the game in regulation, as opposed to going to overtime.
Well, and they would. I mean, they did against the 49ers earlier this season. He only had 37 seconds, and he was trailing 28-27, and he drove straight down the field, got in field goal range, and Mason Crosby drilled it, and they won 30-28.
So what you're saying effectively, Breech, and I think you basically said this 2 weeks ago, if I'm putting words in your mouth, let me know, that you don't consider Justin Herbert Justin Herbert, he's very valuable. Justin Tucker that valuable.
In overtime.
In overtime, down hard.
He tried to talk to the duck again.
I love it. He just doesn't realize that the dunk is stronger than he is.
I don't know.
The whole point of the dunk, you're trying to block the dunk, and the dunk is just dunking on you.
No, I do not think a player is potentially valuable in overtime who might not be on the field at all.
Okay,
because if you lose the coin toss, he never sees the field. So you're banking on something that might not happen.
Yeah, but you're talking about going for 2 as a 50-50 proposition. The coin flip's literally a 50-50 proposition. And
right, but there's also 42 seconds left in the game. So you have to get to the coin toss, and there's no guarantee you're going to.
Well, they're 0-2 in their 2 attempts. So keep going for it, and maybe they'll get it eventually.
As we mentioned in the playoff picture portion of the program, Packers clinch a division title. We talked about the MVP, and we should note Aaron Rodgers tied Brett Favre with the most career touchdown passes in Packers history, 442. Do you know who is third? It's an easy guess, but do you know how many he has?
Bart Starr.
Yeah, Bart Starr. Do you know how many he has?
What's the record? 442?
442.
225.
Are they tied?
Rodgers and Favre are tied at 442.
I'll go 169.
That's a funny guess, but closer than Breech. 152.
There you go.
Which is insane. He has the third most of all time. Like, what a run for these guys.
Also, Matt LaFleur, just the third coach since 1970 to win at least 11 games in each of his first 3 seasons.
Who knows if he's a good coach? Any concerns about the Packers?
He's a good coach.
Jim Harbaugh and Chuck Pagano are the other 2.
Any concerns about the Packers?
Who knows if he's a good coach? Both guys got fired quickly thereafter.
Yeah. Any concerns about the Packers?
I think their special teams and to some extent their defense, depending on who they're able to get back, are a concern.
Yeah, a lot of extent their defense, because they had no answers.
Their defense could be problematic.
They had no answers for Tyler Huntley, undrafted, who in retrospect should have been drafted according to Twitter, and Mark Andrews, who was running wide ass open throughout the game.
That's like a schematic. Like, just put 2 guys on Mark Andrews. He's their only
offense. One guy. How about that? Anybody.
Cover Mark Andrews. Why is that a
complicated idea?
And he was in single coverage on the 2-point conversion too.
He would run to those sticks and turn around and be wide open every time.
The Packers keep piecing these wins together, and none of them are super dominant, especially when they play good teams. And so we just have this conversation, like, how good are they? Are they the best team in the NFC, or are they not because they keep all the games are close? It
feels like we're hurtling towards, I believe, a 3rd straight NFC Championship game against a white hot opponent, and it's like, this old what's a GTA or Grand Theft Auto screenshot where the guy's walking in the alley. It's like, oh bleep, here we go again. Just. You know what I'm talking about?
I never played Grand Theft. I played Atari.
This guy's walking into an alley like, oh, here we go again. It's like the Packers have to go and just, I don't know who it'll be. Maybe it's Brady. Maybe it's,
who the winner is? And when that happens, the Pittsburgh Steelers, because Aaron Rodgers is marching out of town like Vince McMahon coming down the aisle on his way to Pittsburgh, baby.
I think Rodgers is staying now. I'm convinced he's staying next year.
Okay. I don't know, because I was way wrong by the summer.
You're not going to win anywhere else. like as easily as you're going to win in Green Bay. Anyway, let's move on. We got a lot of games to get to. Someone will be fast. Don't worry.
By the way, from ESPN, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers 0-3 against the Saints this year, 21-3 against everyone else.
That's a fun fact.
There
Thank you, Devo.
I've never seen that before, Devo.
He's like, oh, here we go again.
You got to watch YouTube. If you're on audio, you got to watch YouTube to understand Brinson's GTA references.
And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button.